seen the video on DXO. I do have to show it again just in case there's any questions and just for the benefit of people that weren't around in the Monday class. So it's just a short video. I thought I would share it with you this evening. The reason so improved it further and then introduced a charge. So, you know, they're very well respected in that field, typical. But it's, you know, seriously impressive software. Has anybody else had a look at it?
That's good news.
No? Nobody else has had a look at it yet? No? Okay, so if you have got those high ISO files though, it's definitely worth an inspection, and it will also tidy up the raw file if there's if you find you're continually having to make certain changes, so it can really give you a head start with basic processing. So definitely worth a look at. Right, so next thing we'll just move on and have a look at Lightroom. So everybody has, hopefully, or nearly everybody has got a copy of the files that we'll be using throughout the course. I just need to go over the basic interface again because we've got some people on board that weren't in for the first workshop. So the first thing to be aware of is when you're working in Lightroom, your images aren't actually in Lightroom. Lightroom's just the database that's actually pointing to the location of those images. When we first start out and we load the software, we're going into import. And this is what we're looking at here. So on the left hand side, we're basically saying where the images are coming from. So that's within the import dialog. So those images are coming, in this case, from a solid state drive. And then on the left, I'm just navigating to the particular folder where those images are located. The image files, the majority of them are either DNG, the Adobe Digital Negative, or JPEG. So I don't actually need to copy them as a DNG, I just need to basically select copy to copy them across. And so again, we're looking at the destination, and the destination is just going to be the same location, but within the actual file structure that Lightroom creates. And again, just stop me at any point if you have any questions about what I'm saying. So on the right, this is where we set the scene for how the images are being actually imported. We choose minimal for previews, and that just means that it's not going to create a lot of extra file space, use a lot of extra file space by creating larger previews. The smart previews are something different. Anne, can you remember what is a smart preview?
Sorry, Jane, no, I can't.
No, not a problem.
I can't really remember anything about that previous session.
Oh, well, that's good then, because I'm thinking you might
be
you might be a bit bored, but maybe not. Maybe it's a useful revision session, this.
No.
Okay, that's absolutely fine, Anne.
Yeah.
James, I'll ask you. I'm just choosing names off the top of my head. James, can you remember what a smart preview?
I'm afraid I'm a bit like Anne. I can't remember it at all. No, sorry.
No, don't worry. Forbes, you've done this before. Can you remember what a smart preview is?
Hello. Presume it's just looking at the pictures as they come in. That's a guess. I just got your link at Chantry Middle School this afternoon about 3 o'clock. So
okay, not to worry.
A little bit on the hoof.
No, not to worry.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
So basically, a smart preview just means that, excuse me, the software is creating a small snapshot of each image. So if you happen to be somewhere where you haven't got your normal storage, so for example, if all of your files are located on a solid state drive or portable hard drive, and you happen to be either at work or traveling and you haven't got that drive, you can still see those files that you have, even though that drive isn't connected, and you can still work on them. And then the beauty of that is when you return home, you can just plug that drive in, and then all of the work that you've done is updated. So that's the function of a smart preview. They don't take up a huge amount of room, and personally I always use that feature because sometimes it's quite nice just to have a reminder about the smart previews. Okay. Don't import suspected duplicates. You can take that, obviously that can save space and save time, so that's quite useful. Make a second copy too. So sometimes you may feel that you want to have a belt and braces approach and have the files on one drive and on another. So anything that you've taken that's particularly good, sometimes you just want that extra safety net, and so that's when you would tick that box. Okay, adding to a collection. Graham, can you remember what a collection is? Are you there, Graham?
Sorry, sorry, Jane, I'm talking away.
You're talking away.
Oh dear. That's where you sort of group your photos together, isn't it? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, that's right. So a collection is the way you're telling the software that you want that your particular photos organised. So I would always recommend when you're importing for the first time, when you've just put your memory card in the computer or you've attached the camera, you always create a collection. Okay, so that's really like creating folders within a filing cabinet. It keeps everything really nicely organized. So you can see we've got a lot of collections here. So if I click on the plus sign, then I can create a new collection, which is what I'm going to do. So this would be Lightroom class images. And then we can create this inside a collection set. So I could have, it's a bit like creating a subfolder inside a folder. Don't need that in this case, but I'll set it as a target collection. Can anybody remember what a target collection is? Okay, not to worry. So the target collection is the collection that you're currently working on. So this new collection that we have just called Lightroom Class Images, I'm setting as the target collection, because then if I was to say go into another collection and then decide, oh, I might import some images of say wildlife, I can just go through those images and press B, selecting each one, and they'll be added to the Lightroom class images. So setting the current collection as a target collection is just really nice and easy for working with the software. So, and just for that reason, you can add more images as you go through as you set it as the target collection. So then we simply click create. Then if we look down here on the right hand side, I'll just move that up a little bit, we can see Lightroom class images has got a plus right next to it, and so we know that that is the target collection. Okay, so that's how you can tell straight away. So we've got everything ready so far. We've set the collection up, we've made it the target collection. In file renaming, now in the case of the provided files that we're using, a lot of them have got names that are referred to in the handout, and so we're not going to put a tick in that box. But if you wanted to, you can rename files, and then you can choose any of these custom templates if that fits in with your workflow. Okay, so you can leave them as the original name coming off the camera, or you can have some sort of system in place where you're using your own naming convention. Okay, so that is an option. But for this import, we'll not bother, okay, just because we need to keep those names. Then apply during import. So quite a few things we can do during import. So if you've, say, made an error when you've, say, taken your images, and you feel that you want to just, say, add contrast, you could add contrast during import. You can apply creative settings. You can apply a whole raft of different black and white settings. Defaults, so we have the Adobe defaults, which you can also use. So any of these, depending on the images that you've taken. So you can apply, say, Adobe Vivid to images coming in that are a little bit cool in terms of colour. You can apply a curve, grain, optics, sharpening, so you can have sharpening applied, bearing in mind the software will add a small amount of sharpening automatically, and that's normally just around the 25 mark. And you can apply a vignette, or you can save your own preset, and then that will appear under user presets. So on import, you can save yourself a lot of time if you have made a mistake and you need to make those changes. Now in the handout, and it is a handout which is available to go with all of this, taking us through a step at a time, we have metadata. Now in metadata, we'll just have a look at this. You can create a new preset, and this is where you assign copyright information which is embedded in metadata when you import your files. And anybody that was to, say, find a picture of yours, they can see that metadata, and then they can contact you if needs be. So in edit presets, here you'll be creating a custom preset. We don't need to put anything into the top boxes until we come to copyright. So it's mainly copyright that we're wanting. I'll just change this actually to one that's been done, then you can see what I've put in. Okay, so this is like a general photography preset, just as something to go on, and again the information is all in the first handout that I've uploaded. So within IPTC, this is just the International Press Trades Council, and they just set the standards for photographers and try to do things on our behalf. So in that IPTC copyright, you could put something like your name, the year, all rights reserved, the status that it's copyrighted, no reproduction without prior permission, and your name as creator. If you have a website, and the photographer, that would just be the job title. And so it's the IPTC section that we're really interested in. Further down this particular metadata, we're looking at things that apply just to videographers. Okay, so it's quite a good thing to complete this, and then you can save it, and then you can just use it over and over again when you're importing your images. You just simply navigate to, perhaps it's a general photography preset, or it could be a one that you've set up for a particular range of images. So I've got a Camargue preset that I used for all of the Camargue images. So that's why we would apply that to our images. Keywords. So keywords you can apply across the board. So it could be that you want to say, type something in like class images. It could be wherever you find something, sort of general keywords that apply to all of the images coming in. So if you've, say, been to the Lake District, you could have a lot of kind of landscape, Lake District type of keywords that apply to everything. And then later on, you can select individual images where perhaps unique keywords just apply to those images. So that's where we set keywords. So I could just type something in like class images. And if you've used it before, it'll remember the type of keywords you've used. So I might use my name, so that'll come up. And then you can again just work your way through. Sometimes I put the year in as well, in with the keywords, because this always helps you when it comes to finding images, because you can have thousands and thousands of images in a Lightroom catalogue, which is the whole thing, and then we've got the separate collections. Now, when we come to destination, it's a good idea to relax and not try and interfere with what Lightroom is trying to do. And what it's trying to do is create a really elaborate folder structure, which you could do it manually, but it would take you forever. And it just has that very elaborate folder structure for cataloguing your images. And this is what it's excellent at. So I would suggest not to mess with different subfolders or to interfere with what Lightroom is trying to do. So you can see it may pull things from an archive. So you might have, say, one image that was taken years ago in 2006, but it'll be in a 2006 folder for that year, and then there'll be a subfolder for that date. Could be you've got more images, but it would create that just for one. So it's a very elaborate filing structure. And in order to find things, it's always a good idea to not try to interfere with that, or to start deleting things, if you like, which is something that quite a lot of people do. They think, oh, that's extra files, and delete it, and that's when the trouble starts. Okay. So once we've set everything up and we're in import, so this is Lightroom Classic, we've got the catalogue name at the top, which is the whole thing, as we said before. Then the next thing we do is simply go to import, and then we click on import, and then the process just starts, and it starts to copy and import those class photos. Okay, so just takes a little bit of time as it runs through everything. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there and ask if you've got any questions. If not, we'll just pause while you get up to this particular stage.
Jane, can I just check? When would you use copy as opposed to add, where you're just effectively keeping the images in the same folder and just adding a reference to it? Yeah. Or would you always do copy?
I tend to always use copy. Add, you can do, if you wanted to say add to a collection, then that's quite useful. So that's really when you would just use add. But yeah, generally, copy works pretty well.
So you always tend to be taking it off, like say a flash card, and copying it onto a solid state drive or something.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's right. So it would just be taking it from point B and then copying it onto, generally it would be a solid state drive, rather than filling up your hard drive with big files. And if you're shooting raw, as you know, you're soon going to eat into your disk space.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got anything that they want to say at the moment, or is everybody okay?
Jean, I've put mine in a folder on the desktop, all the photographs that I had to download.
Right, yeah, that's fine. So that's where you're navigating to, Margie. So that's where, that's where they're coming from. And then you just think where you actually want them to be, where you're pointing the software to, if it's going to be like on an external drive, or, you know, where that destination's going to be.
Yeah. If I remember rightly, we did all of these ones before.
Yes, these
I
ones.
recognise all images.
Yeah, so these ones have been used in the Get Started course before, but I will be adding more. And so there's some people that are joining us haven't done this before, and so these are really good start images just to, you know, get the basics under your belt. Everybody managing all right with that? Is it making sense, Emma? Because I know you're new to this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. The more you do it, the more intuitive it becomes. It's just really getting to grips with the start and getting everything imported correctly, and then it does make a lot more sense.
Jane, can I ask one question?
Yes?
You said that the pictures in Lightroom aren't actually in Lightroom.
No.
They're just taken from a source. So presumably, if I delete the source, I lose the picture.
Yeah, this is what you've got to be careful of, because if you say take a look at one of the pictures and you right click on it and you choose remove photo, then it's going to ask if you want to remove from Lightroom or delete from disk. Okay, you do get that option. So if you really, you know, maybe it's the one that you don't like, you can just delete it from disk. So yeah, it's just one of those things to be aware of. But if you go in and start like looking at the file structure under the hood, so if you go on your solid state drive, for example, and start looking at what Lightroom's done and start, you know, taking images out and messing about with them, that's when the trouble can start, because you're going to get like a little exclamation mark coming up and an image, and it'll say something like image unable to be found. So if
Jane,
yes,
do you always tend to, in terms of import, and always leave it as a default and just have like the year and then the subfolders of the dates underneath that, or do you tend to change that?
I tend to leave it at the default because that just seems to work really well. If it's a wedding, then I would make changes to that, because that just works better for wedding photos. I would sort of use a custom file name for that. But for, you know, like a general import, if you've got a named collection and then you add your keywords to that collection, then that's really good, because you can find things again, you know, quite easily.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
No problem. Just let me know when you're done.
when you download files, what's the easiest way to find them when you're on the Lightroom Classic?
Sorry, do you mean once you've actually got them within the software, how you would say find a picture of a pink daisy or something like that?
Yeah, so I've downloaded all these files that you've given me, but I don't actually know what the picture looks like. So I'm just trying to work out which is which. How would I find that?
So can you not actually see the pictures at the moment?
I can see some pictures, but I've got other ones as well.
So have you not put them in a collection?
Say that again, sorry?
Have you put the files that you've just downloaded for the course, have you put them in a collection?
I haven't, not yet, no.
Right, so that's what's important at the import stage, that you actually get all of the images and put them in a collection, which sets them apart from everything else. So like on my screen, if I just scroll through the folder structure, you can see all of these down the left hand side are collections, and this is kind of your starting point. So for example, you may say, because it's alphabetical, it's easy to look at. So you might say, oh yes, I know that I'm looking for the Camargue, and so that's the collection you would go to. But if you needed to do a search to find things, I'm going to show you that later.
Yeah, but it's just in terms of importing them. When you're just importing them initially, I've just downloaded them from Google.
All right, okay. So you've downloaded and saved them, but you haven't got them into Lightroom yet. Is that right?
No.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to find them?
Well, you know where you've saved them, don't you? From the internet.
Well, they should just be in downloads, I guess.
Yes. So they're in downloads. So you can pull them out. You can pull them out of downloads, or you can copy that folder and put it somewhere else if that's easier. Is your starting point. It's just really what works for you, and then when you've got Lightroom open in the library module, you then go to import, and that's when you navigate to where you've saved the files.
Yeah, so I can see them in the downloads, and it's under new photos. So at that point, do you import them, or do you have to do something with it first?
Once you've got everything downloaded and you've unzipped the zip folder, then when you go to import, you just point the software at where the files are. That's the unzipped, and then you click on that. So that's your start point. That's your source.
Okay.
So that's where they're coming from, and then you do the other things where you just copy them across, and then you set up the collection.
Afterwards, okay, thank you.
That's when you move to the right hand side. So you do it all before you do the import, and then it's just really getting the digital workflow right at the start.
Okay, thanks.
If you need to see a visual, there is the handout on Classroom that I'm working through, and so you can see what I've done on that so far.
Okay, thanks, Jane.
Everybody doing okay?
No, Jane, I'm completely lost off here. Totally.
Right, okay. Shall I run
I was
through
kind
it?
of trying. Yeah, I was trying to listen to what Heather was saying. That I thought I had downloaded these pictures this afternoon and saved them on my external hard drive, and then when I've connected that, they're not there. So that's somehow the stage where I've gone adrift. And I've tried to do it again now, and then I've got them in Drive, but then in Drive, I don't know how then to get them into downloads or anything, or how to.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
totally lost off,
Don't-
really.
Don't worry. I'll go through it with you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just go back to classwork. Right. So don't worry about this, because it's obviously, you know, everybody gets in a bit of a knot with the downloading process. So not to worry about it. So
Jane,
yes.
can I just ask a quick thing? If you import them and you haven't done it right, can you just delete them and do it again? Re-import them?
Well, if you've imported them, you shouldn't really have to do it again. Can you not just select them and then add them to a collection that way?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Thanks.
I mean, yes, you can delete them if you want to do it all again. You could just delete them and then go back and do the whole process again.
Right.
Whichever you prefer, whichever you want to have a look at. Right. So, Anne, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I've just gone to the files and I see the zip archive. So I click on that once.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have to wait, okay? And then my option is I'm just going to choose to download. So I click on download, and then it'll say it's too large to scan for viruses. I'm saying download anyway, and then it's just downloading those files. So are you on a Mac or on a Windows machine?
No, Windows.
Oh, okay, so it's slightly different for you. So, but you still, it's the download anyway, and then because it's a large file, it's going to take quite a long time to download. So we just have to wait for this to run through. So are you doing it at the same time?
Right, well, somehow it's gone into Google Drive, which just totally confuses me, because then I can't seem to get them out of Google Drive. But I'm wondering if I clicked on that zip extractor thing.
Yeah.
If that was what I did, because we were doing that when we were doing the Photoshop course.
And you have the option.
That automatically.
Yeah, you have the option to download your files into Google Drive, or you can just download them, which is what I'm doing at the moment. Once this download's complete, it'll say you can download into Google Drive, or you can download to your computer. You get the option. And I think you've just chosen Google Drive.
Yeah, I didn't see an option. I think that was the thing. I think I've sort of got Google Drive, and I can't see anywhere of putting them. And once they're in Google Drive, I can't seem to get them out of there. I can't seem to see any other way of putting them anywhere else. There must be.
I'll just
somehow I'm missing something.
I just cancel this, because then I'll see if I can show you something different, because it's just once you start the download, it's a big download.
It's a big download. I thought I'd done it this afternoon, but somehow I haven't. Right. So
not to worry. So if I go to Google Drive, now obviously I'll just find something that I can use to demonstrate for that. Let's see what I can use. It's got some files in it. So in Google Drive, can you just see like a whole lot of separate files?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you can select them all by pressing just the ones that you actually want to be a part of it. So you can select them all, and then if you right click, you can choose to either open with or download. Okay, so you can get them out of there, then you can download them, and then that'll go to your downloads folder.
Right, okay, yeah.
And then
right, yeah.
to save time, you can just maybe pull a few of them into Lightroom just to get the idea.
Yeah.
So this is obviously, you know, there's quite a lot of files, and they're big files for the, you know, start of course. So that's why it's just taken a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Anybody else struggling, or are we just about there? This is, as we said at the start, being recorded, so you can always pop back and have a look at the recording if you need to later on. And then again, just tell me when you've got it done, and it looks like you've got everything into the library module. So that's where we're importing to the library module.
Jane?
Yes.
I'm starting to get them downloaded. It's taken a while, but it seems to be, while Lightroom's been passive and I haven't used it, it seems to have downloaded every other blooming photograph I've got on the computer. So I'll have to find out how to get rid of some of them, because it's complicating things. That I think everything that I've taken and stored on the computer's all been downloaded to Lightroom at some time.
So can you see all those things? I mean, it could be that if you look on the left, when you're in
Yes,
library,
I can see that.
Yeah, if you click on all photographs, so for example, in this catalogue, I've got 13,617.
Yeah.
So that's just...
I've got a few, seems to be a few thousand myself.
Yeah, yeah, so maybe you've clicked on that and that's what you're looking at.
Probably it. I'd just like to get all those out of Lightroom at some point. I'm going to take advantage of looking at the video again afterwards as well.
Yeah, well, it's just really getting the basics organised at the start, because if you get the basics right, and then it's, you know, really quite easy once you've done that. But obviously with this, it's a bit harder when we're not in a classroom, because I can't sort of help you every step of the way. Well, I can, but you know, it's not as easy as standing over your shoulder.
I could get a photograph up to play with for tonight's session.
Yeah, well,
that's not a problem.
That's good, but do you understand what's actually going on? How we're importing, getting everything into a particular collection, and then what we're applying to those pictures during import?
Yes, I can, but I'll be studying the notes as well, and
Okay.
Are they the same notes as the ones you gave us all those years ago?
I have changed them. I do change them every now and again. But
I've got them all preserved.
Well, it's basically the same. It hasn't changed. And so, you know, you can still follow, you know, the basic notes. But these ones, I'm not sure when they were last updated, but I do change them and do update them, normally for every course.
That's okay. All the meat's there. It's just a case of getting it bit by bit just now. And I'll be taking advantage of the video, because I'll have to leave you after 7:30, as always. But well, it's okay.
Yeah, that's
it's
fine.
Okay.
But ask questions, you know, ask questions, Forbes, if there's anything that's not clear,
yeah.
You know, before we move on.
Super.
Jane, in terms of when you do the import, do you tend to select different destination folders, or do you just tend to put it all in the same folder and let it sort it out in terms of the years, or do you tend to have like a higher level destination for the different
don't touch
subjects
it.
you're doing.
Yeah, don't touch that at all, because that's where you've got to relax and trust Lightroom to do that work for you. Because as we've seen, you know, if you've been, say, taking photos for a while, you can have quite a complex folder structure, and Lightroom just does such a brilliant job of that. When you come to that bit, you just relax and let the software do what it does best. You know, that's what you pay all the money for, and that's how it's so good at like finding things later. You know, pictures that were taken years ago with a certain ISO, you know, you can search on that and say bring all pictures that are less than a certain ISO or more than a certain ISO. So it's really very good at what it does. So yeah, I would say, yeah, don't
just leave it in the same folder all the time.
Don't think about, you know, changing to higher level folders. Just let it sort everything into years and then dates, and then it'll all work seamlessly.
Right. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Jane, is only a couple of things on the metadata that you want us to input before you import them?
So yeah, have a look at the preset, you know, creating the copyright, if you haven't set one of those up before, so that's important. And then we can go through, once we've got the images in, and do some more like quick develop work and keywording once the images are actually in.
We just wanted to put our name in just a couple of boxes and then just import them.
And in the and then you can apply that copyright, just that the copyright is yours, just so you know how to assign it. And again, in the handout there's detailed instructions on what to write in that copyright and to name it, so that when you come to use import new images, you can just apply that standard copyright and not have to do it every time, just within metadata.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll do you a handout. I did one for Doug for a Mac about downloading files, if it would be useful.
Yes. Oh, hang on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I mustn't have, because I'm just getting completely, absolutely hopeless. And as you say, this is, you know, when you're not in the college, because I thought I had, got a zipped file in my external hard drive. Well, when I'm on the PC, it's showing up that it is. But when I'm in the Lightroom, it's not showing that, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right, so when you go to import, you can't actually navigate to it, even though it's connected to your computer, is that right?
It'll connect to the external hard drive, but it won't show up those files that I've just put in there. Maybe I need to close the software and reopen it or something like that.
But you've definitely unzipped them, haven't you? They're not zipped files.
That's a good question.
Because If it's a zip folder, then it'll not show that to import because it won't import zip files.
Right, so it could be that.
Could be that, yeah.
I'm just getting in such a knot here now, really.
Well, we'll just perhaps not worry too much about it. I'll do you a handout on downloading the zip files, which you can follow, and then I think that's really been where the problem has arisen. Would you agree? Getting the files off the internet.
Yes, that right. Yeah, I've seen them there. I can see now, like, you know, where you get all the locations on your PC.
Yeah.
That is, yes, a zip file. So if I just tried to just do one, possibly, one file.
I mean, if you come out of Lightroom and just go back to where you've downloaded the zip files to, then you can right click on the zip folder and choose to unzip or open with zip extractor.
Oh, it hasn't got open with zip extractor. It hasn't got zip extractor under open with.
Has it got 7-zip or WinZip or anything with a zip in it?
No, it hasn't got any zips or buttons or bows or hooks and eyes or anything. It's got Photoshop, Windows Explorer, or search the Microsoft Store and choose another app.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know why, because I've been using that zip extractor all the way through the last course. So
that's been linked. The zip extractor has been linked to Google, but now you've downloaded those particular files. So if in Windows Explorer you click on the left hand side, if you can see the hard drive, you click on that, and then on the right hand side you'll see the expanded view.
That's the problem I'm having.
Expand.
Thank you.
Did you expand?
Yes, so you can see the expanded view. So you'll have the hard drive on the left, and then when you click on it, the expanded view opens in the main window.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right, yes.
Then in the main window, if you can see the zip file.
No, I can just see the 3 individual. I only put 3 in to try to save time. I can see the 3 individual files.
Right, 3 individual files, and they'll not say anything about zip, do they not?
No.
Right, so you can see them. They look like regular pictures.
Well, they just look like, they don't look like pictures. No, they just look like...
Is it
just little icons?
Right, it's just like a file name and then dot something after it. Has it got .dng?
Yeah, it's got DNG file.
Right.
And sorry, Lightroom before .dng, yeah.
Right.
And
So you've got those files that aren't zipped. So those files, you should be able to just pick up one into Lightroom. Now, it could be easier if you just right click on one of those files, and can you choose send to desktop?
No. I've got view, sort by, group by, refresh, extract all.
Right, so extract all, that's a way of unzipping what you've got. So that's like, so if you select the files and choose unzip all.
Yeah.
And then it'll open them up so that they're not zipped. So it'll extract them.
Right. All right, yeah. I've got like a green file thing going along. Yeah, right. Now we've got the pictures.
All right, okay. So now you've got the pictures. So then Lightroom should be able to see those pictures. So it might be easier if you just select them. Can you select them and just put them in another folder so that they're easy to...
No, I've got them. I've got them in Lightroom now. Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
It's done it, hasn't it?
You've got there.
I haven't a clue what we've done, but yes, we've got there, yes.
Okay. Excellent.
I haven't a clue what I've done, but anyway.
Well, I will do your handout to make this
Yeah.
easier. How about
Yeah.
the rest of you? Are we there or not quite? Yes?
I've just got them unzipped listening to you while that was going on.
Okay, it's just because they're so big and being raw files, we had to zip them in order to upload them,
Right.
and then, yeah, to get them in the classroom.
It's the pain of the thing, actually.
So, are we ready to move on or not? Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying yes. Yeah, fabulous. Right. Okay. So, just to, by way of revision, we're assuming that now we have imported the files into Lightroom, and so they're in Lightroom but not actually in Lightroom. It's just the software is pointing to where those files are located. So yes, we can see small thumbnails of our files and work on them, but they're not actually held in Lightroom. So looking at the top, we're in the library module, okay? So the library module, this is where we do the organizing, and this is where we start off like we did before when we went to import to start this whole process. So the library module is the starting point. And within the library module, once the images are in, we've got quick develop. And so we can, at this stage, apply presets if there's things that need to be applied if we didn't do them before import. If, for example, you made an awful error with white balance, you could choose a different white balance, select all the images, and then apply that change in white balance to everything. So it can really be a lifesaver if things have gone wrong. On where we've got tone control, you can choose auto, or you can make adjustments just working down all of these tonal controls. So it's a quick way of fixing things if necessary. We can work our way down as well and add in keywords. So once we get to this point, we added a few on import, but then you could select individual items and then add in like different keywords. So it could be that you wanted to add pink flower, gerbera, or blue background to this one, and then go to something else, and then just, you know, add individual keywords or find common ground. So it could be you want to select a few things that are seascapes, so you could pick one or two and just again add the keywords as appropriate. I know it seems like a bit of a faff to do this, but it pays dividends later when, for example, you think, oh, I need some pictures of seascapes, and then you just simply search on the keyword for seascape, then all of those images come up. So this is the stage where you can apply those keywords just simply by selecting the images that you want to apply them to and then typing the keywords into the box. And then, of course, you can copy to other images as needs be. And then you get all these keyword suggestions the more you use the feature. And again, that can save you time because you can just click on the keywords and use the suggestions. And we've also got categories here. So outdoor photography is listed at the moment, but then you can perhaps use other categories as appropriate. Then moving down, we have the keyword list, and so here this is where you can use the search feature. So I've got all selected at the moment. I could just use people instead. So you've got these keywords which can really make quite a difference to what you're working with. So I'll just pause for a moment while you have a look at keywords and then just start adding a few in just to get a feel for it.
Jane, I know it's not necessary because we've already put these into a collection, but if I wanted to put a keyword on everything, can I do that?
Yeah, so if you didn't do it at import, you can just select them all just by, say, pressing Command A, and then you can just go to your keywords, and then you can just type in what it is that you want to say about them all. So currently, when these were imported, I used 2021 class images, my name. So you can just, as I say, select them all and type in something else.
Right, so it's, yeah, fine. That's good, thanks. Yeah.
And then just test it out after you've applied it to all of them, that it has actually worked when you did that selection. Right, how's that going? All okay? Okay. So once we've added in our keywords, we can just scroll down a little bit further and inspect the metadata, and then you can just see what's already been applied, if there's something else that you would like to put in. So for example, you might want to select one image, give it a title and give it a caption, and make sure the copyright is in there, and then you can just basically work through that metadata and just have a look to see what's appropriate.
Jane, I don't know what I've done, but I've got like one image is lit up and the rest's all dark.
Right, have you selected one image? So if I click on one image, then it's a bit brighter and then the rest look a bit darker?
Yes, I've done that, and I can go along the bottom and change the image, and that image comes up as bright, but the rest is dark. The whole screen's dark.
But you can see every single image on the film strip on the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
they are darked out. They're darkened out, but I can see them.
Okay. So it could be that you've got some duplicates. So can you, when you look at the bottom, can you see that you've got like more than, you know, two versions of the same thing, or?
It doesn't seem to be. No, it just seems to be the full 29 images, and I've got them all up on the screen now, and they're all lit up.
All right.
But everything is black.
They're all lit up but black.
Well, no, all the images are lit up, but the rest of the screen is dark.
Okay, just try
Like
clicking.
opaque.
Just try clicking on one image and then click on develop, and then we'll just sort of go through what it can be.
Right. Well, that's brought the image up by itself, but larger.
Yes, so that's where we do the work. That's the next thing. So it looks normal, does it? It's not dark.
Well, the picture is normal, but the rest is dark. The whole screen's dark.
Right, I wonder if you've actually gone into lights out. If you just press, yeah, if you press L, does it look like, I don't know if you can see mine, but there's like a lights out mode. So if you press L, that's lights out, and that'll look a little bit different.
All right, let's have a look at that.
Just press it on your keyboard.
Well, no, it hasn't made it. Well, it goes completely dark, but I've taken my finger off and it goes opaque again.
Okay, if you go to your window menu and then if you come down to lights out, does it say lights are on or lights are off?
Lights out.
So if we just
I'll put lights on.
Yeah, put lights on.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hooray.
Right.
Right, have we all had a look at just adding a few keywords? We've looked at metadata, how we can just add all of these things to our images once we're in the library mode. Yeah? Is everybody happy with that? Yeah, okay. So if we again just go back by way of a recap, so that's what happens in library. In develop, that's where we carry out our edits, okay, and so that's what the develop module is all about. So if we select an image and then press D on the keyboard for develop, then develop comes up, okay. So that's the purpose of that. Shortly we'll look at the map module, how we can add like data to images. We've got the book module, and that's where we can create nice photo books. Just going through the preparation and Lightroom users blurb for that. We will look at all of these individually. We've got the slideshow module, where we can set up slideshows with music, with passwords, set them as PDFs. And we've got the print module, so that's a very important one where we prepare our images for printing, and so that one we need to spend some time on. And then we've got the web module where you can basically create a web photo gallery, and then you can share that online or add it to a personal website. Okay, so that's just looking at everything along the top. So the next thing we'll take a look at is just bringing an image into the develop module. So you can basically choose any image at all. So I'll just ask James, see what you can remember. What is the first thing that we would do when we edit images?
Check the exposure.
Exposure. Right, that's not actually the very first thing that we would do. Anybody, any other ideas? Doug, can you remember from Monday the very first thing when we'll do our editing?
Exposure.
Lens corrections.
Right, so lens corrections is the very first thing. We do that because It just gets rid of any chromatic aberration, and it also allows us to enable profile corrections. Okay, so we've got a profile and we've got manual. So if we click to remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections, then the software should immediately pick up what's been used to take that particular image, and it'll just pull out from the database what's needed in order to make those lens corrections. Okay, so the very first thing we do is go to lens corrections, profile, to remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections. Right, can everybody do that now, just so we've got that nailed? And you can use any image, it just doesn't have to be the boat, it can be any one you like. Has everybody managed to do that okay? Found it all right and it worked okay? Right. Okay, so we always do that first, and then the next thing we go to is the basic panel. So that's where we do all of the exposure settings and adjustments. So we take a look just to see what's going on in the image. And so to see what's going on in the image, this is what we're looking at, the histogram. And that's just showing us how the pixels have been distributed. We can see the ISO, we can see all of the data that we need, how long the shot was, the exposure value, the aperture, and all the rest of it, and the length of lens. And we can also see that there was a smart preview created. So we can switch on our clipping warnings by clicking either end of the histogram, just so we can be sure that we don't go too far when we're pushing any adjustments. So we go to our exposure controls, we take our highlights down to bring some detail into the image, some contrast, bring the shadows up to reveal any detail that's in the shadows. If this image was going to be created as a black and white, we could push those sliders further, so we could go completely negative with highlights and completely positive with shadows if we wanted to do that. And then the whites, we hold down the Alt or the Option key, and then we get we can actually see what's happening. So I've pushed the white point too far, so the warning has come on. We can see that's lit up. So if we just go back, you can see that that was just lit up there on the histogram, and we can see that the image is blown out, especially the whites, which means the detail has been lost in the highlights. So then you pull that back to set the white point, and then the black point the same. So we just move very carefully, and then we see the clipping warning has come on straight away. I pull back, it's off, I move a little bit further, and then it's on again. So we don't want to push that too far, because that means that we've got pure blacks in the image, which we don't particularly need. We just need to get that distribution of the histogram correct. And if you've got your exposure right in camera, you shouldn't have to make any changes to the exposure slider. So I'm always reluctant to have to move that. I mean, very occasionally you might have to, but it's best to get everything right in camera, and then you're just working on these tonal adjustments. We can then look at the presence, and this is where we perhaps improve our edge definition slightly. So we can take clarity up, but clarity, we've got to be careful because it can introduce artifacts. So you don't want to use too much clarity, because if I crank that right up to the very top and then check it at 100%, if I'm not careful, I can start to introduce halos and things basically that we don't want. So clarity, we just go quite carefully with that, around about the 20 mark. And dehaze we can use if, for example, we've got a sky that needs a little bit more detail in it. We can use the dehaze slider. And again, it is quite vigorous, so use with caution, because again, you can introduce noise and artifacts if you're not careful. Vibrance, that's for the undersaturated colours. So if I increase vibrance, you can see that those colours that aren't so saturated, like the little blue, the small blue boat, is making an improvement. And don't forget, you can go negative with these sliders as well. So if you feel as if the colours are just a bit too vibrant, then you can always go negative. And of course, negative clarity is going to result in softness as well. So you can take those sliders either way. So we'll just pause while you have a look at that. Right, how's that going?
Whole thing's a bit of a car crash tonight, Jane. I'm just going to have to sit down sometime when I've got hours and just, try and... Well, it reminds me of when I started with the Photoshop and it was just all total mystery and that sort of feeling I haven't a clue what I'm doing, Gradually it looms out of the mist a bit.
Yeah, it is complex at first though. And everybody's nodding. They've all been there. And
you're in very good company.
The thing, what's happened is when I go on develop, these files, I'm getting a dialog box saying the file appears to be unsupported or damaged. I don't know what I've done or how I've done that.
It's possibly not
some of these are the files that we did last time on the sort of taster session, which were fine then. So I don't know.
It's often when images aren't unzipped properly, that you can get this damaged. So if, for example, you've got like a zip folder, and if you double click on it instead of extracting properly, then the files don't always decompress correctly and you get fragments and bits missing. And so that's the most likely explanation for that. But I'll tell you what, don't worry, Anne, because I'll do, as I say, a handout for you to try and get you over that hurdle of just getting all the files downloaded.
Yeah.
And then that'll be easier for you to follow.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Is that...
I think if I sit down sometime, and take a few hours and go back to basics step by step, hopefully it will, but I do remember this from starting Photoshop, feeling completely overwhelmed, and then gradually it kind of loomed out of the mist a bit, and then it would recede back into the mist, and then it would sort of come at me again, and that was how it went,
But you did really well with Photoshop, so don't be disheartened.
I am feeling a bit disheartened, but I'm
you will get there, Anne. You will get there.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
You are determined.
Yeah. I'm determined. Yeah. Bloody minded, as some people would call me, but yes.
You will conquer this software. I know you will. Right. So I think would probably be best to leave it there for this evening, and then pick up next week on the next stage. So if you get the chance, you can maybe just revise what we've looked at so far, have a look at the handout, and then we'll pick up next week and do a little bit more, okay? And then if anybody feels the need to go over anything, I can always record you another video or do a one-to-one, whatever it takes, just to make this easier and less of a mystery, okay? I'll get the video processed hopefully tomorrow.